In debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, this morning, we've heard impassioned speech from my colleagues with regards to the opposition to HB 1. We heard about the historical context and the importance of what protest plays in our history, how important it is for Americans to speak out when there's a wrong. And we've heard that this bill seeks only to curtail illegal conduct. Well, also in our history, oftentimes when we have written laws with intent of curtailing legal conduct, we often chill the very conduct that's legal and makes our country better. HB 1 will have the same effect of chilling the very conduct that has made America great. It will have the effect of chilling the conduct that made us stand up to the promise that every person shall be equal under our Constitution. Because it's through protests that we are reminded of the obligations that we have to one another. It's through protests that in 1920, women finally received the right to vote. It is because prior to 1920, in the 1930s, women decided that they would protest, that during President Woodrow Wilson's inauguration, that they would take to the streets and that they would march so that they one day, too, would have the right to vote for the leadership in this country. It was through protests that happened. It is through protests that in 1973, the Psychiatric Association finally removed homosexuality from its diagnostic manual. And that happened because in 1969, the LGBT community took to the streets for 6 days to remind America that they too had the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is through protests that they reminded us, that they shocked the conscience of America, that we all are created equal. It was then again, in 2018, that this country experienced a tragedy in Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, where a gunman took the lives of our children. And the survivors of that great tragedy, seeing that this nation and that Florida had not done enough to protect them with regards to gun rights, decided that they would protest. And they too took to the streets of Washington, D.C. and said to our country, we've had enough. You failed to protect us. It is time that you act. And because of that, in 2018, this legislature came up with the Douglas High School Public Safety Act, which changed minimum age for gun purchases, increased waiting periods, and created red flag laws. We must be careful that through our zeal to make something illegal, that we chill the very thing that makes us great. It is through our right to protest. And it's through protests that we remind America of its promises. It is through protests that we activate the conscience of America. So as I wrap up, I want to quote once more the words of one of our most famous protesters, Dr. Martin Luther King. And Dr. King said that riots are the language of the unheard. And he said that social justice and progress are the only guarantors against riots. Social justice and progress are our keys against riots, not HB 1. Please vote this bill down.
Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to yield